Hey, what's up everybody? We are back again, and today, returning by popular demand, we are once again going to be talking about the man himself, Zillakami. Now right off the bat, I know I already got a pretty good chunk of the audience pissed off before I even say anything. I know I'm gonna have people saying you're dragging it, you're milking it for content, it happened over a year ago at this point, it's time to let it go, those allegations were proven false, and so on and so on. On one hand, you got the people who support Zillakami who are pissed off with me because I keep bringing attention to the situation almost a year later. And then on the other hand, you got the people who don't like Zillakami and are pissed off with me because once again, I keep bringing attention to him. I mean, after all, if we want this guy to fade away, stop making music and no longer be a public figure, the only way we're really going to achieve that is by completely ignoring him. And while in most cases I agree with that sentiment, I mean, I never really continue to drag people like Young Goth or Little Tracy or Puya or Young Rare. With Zillakami, it's a very different situation. And that's because while publicly a lot of people will shit on me for making videos about him, in my DMs on Instagram, Discord, and basically anywhere you can reach me, all I see is message after message after message of people asking me what I think about Zillakami, his recent antics, the cosigns that he's been achieving, basically everything to do with the guy. And while I definitely have made an effort to try to diversify my content, move away from trap metal, city morgue, and all of that, at the end of the day, if that's what people are asking for, I mean, I live to please. So I figured instead of answering all of these DMs day in and day out, it would be a better idea to make a video where I basically answer all of your frequently asked questions about Zillakami, city morgue, and even myself, I suppose. Which didn't really go so well the last time that I did it, which we'll get into later, but for right now, fuck it. Full send, let's talk about Zillakami, why not? So I'm gonna start off with a question that I probably see the most being asked by people who aren't in the Zillakami fan base, which is basically why does Zillakami even still have a fan base anymore? With a pretty good chunk of people being very upset that Zillakami still seems to have so many supporters even after all the allegations came out, which is understandable. When somebody does allegedly terrible actions, you would kind of hope that everybody would unanimously agree to no longer support that person. But I would say the reasoning behind this comes down to a number of factors. First of all, age. A lot of people who support Zillakami are very young, being from around 15 to 19 years old, meaning that they don't really have a whole lot of lived experience. I mean, a good chunk of them probably went to high school during the pandemic, meaning that they didn't get to go to actual classes, didn't get a whole lot of socialization, and mostly spent a lot of their youth in Discord servers and Reddit pages. And because of that, they're not very good at disconnecting their online life from their real life, as most of their life has been online, meaning that the internet feels very real to them. Not to go full unk mode on you guys, but I've really noticed this with people who were born after 2004. I mean, if you were born in 2001 like me, you basically got to have your entire high school experience before the pandemic broke out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really shitty to go into the real world for the first time and immediately get locked down, but at least we got our formative years. People who were born in 2004 basically went into grade 10, or I guess you guys call it sophomore year in America, got that 1 year of socializing with people their own age, and then immediately got locked down and spent their entire high school experience in their bedroom. And if their parents didn't really give a shit, they probably gave them full internet access, basically meaning that they're spending all of their day online, getting completely invested in different communities, and eventually when you spend enough time in a certain echo chamber, it becomes very hard to break free of that if you even want to in the first place. And this takes the entire Zillakami situation from, oh, that guy I used to listen to a little bit in high school ended up getting canceled for horrible allegations. Well, that kind of sucks. I liked his music and it's terrible to see him go down that path. Into an absolutely identity shattering event where you no longer know what to do with yourself anymore. If you put years and years and years into being part of this Zillakami fan base, looking for all of the unreleased music, finding old pictures, digging into lore, having all of that be over with the snap of a finger probably feels like you're losing a lot more than a favorite artist. It probably feels like you're losing your entire life. And while yes, that definitely does sound very sad and pathetic, you do kind of have to have a little bit of empathy for these guys because it's not an uncommon issue in the modern day. If you have no guidance or structure or somebody to look up to, you're probably going to find your role models in the worst places that you can. And well, to an outsider, Zillakami is very appealing. If you're angry and you feel like you can't express it in your own words, you can listen to his music and feel like you're justified justified. On top of that, if you've never really had friends before, or if you've always felt like an outsider, I'm sure going to one of his concerts probably feels like the best feeling in the world. You're going through your life day to day, you feel like nobody really understands you and what you're going through, but when you go to one of his shows, even if you don't end up talking to anybody, the shared energy in that room can really be infectious. So I'm sure the idea of never being able to go to one of those shows again really hits them deep in their core, because that was basically the one moment a year that they truly looked forward to, the one moment where they could be themselves and really let loose and enjoy the music that they enjoyed with people who also enjoyed it. And in their very limited worldview, it probably feels like a woman completely took that away from them. I mean, a lot of these guys have probably never been in a relationship before, they've never really been all that close to a woman, so they don't really understand how serious an allegation like this can be. On top of that, they already really like Zillakami, they're already very attached to him, he feels like that outsider that never should have been able to make his way into the industry. He's always been anti-authority, he's always stood against the labels, and basically has paved his own lane as an absolute rock star who does whatever he wants. He's never had to play by the rules before, so I don't understand why it has to be different this time. So he had a bad relationship with a woman, get over it, it was probably her fault. That's what they're thinking in their head. And because they don't have that lived experience where they've been in relationships and they've been around women that they care about, they don't understand the gravity of the allegations. Not to mention, they've probably been severely desensitized to things like and as after all, you basically can't go anywhere on the internet nowadays without running into somebody who's got allegations of one or the other. And this really causes a lot of damage to a young brain, because when you're seeing the worst of humanity day in and day out, eventually your brain is going to flip a switch and go into full-on denial. Because as humans, we're not programmed to take on this much negative information on a daily basis. Eventually, it's going to become too overwhelming and you're not going to want to believe it anymore. Because to believe that all of this is true and that people are really doing these horrible actions would basically completely shatter your worldview. And because of that, they turn it into an entire conspiracy. Instead of these people doing horrible things because they're horrible people, it's actually horrible people trying to slander the good people. And that turns the entire thing into team sports. It's no longer Zillakami did something terrible, allegedly, and now we're gonna have to reckon with that if we want to continue to be fans. Instead, it's those girls are lying and they need to be taken down because of that. And because Zillakami made no attempt to try to wrangle his fans in any way, they ended up doing some of the most terrible shit that a fan base can possibly do. They were doxing people, they were attempting to swat people, death threats on the girls who were accusing him. And it's not because they don't believe the allegations. Deep down, they truly know that Zillakami probably is guilty of what he was accused of, but they don't want to believe it. So instead, they start to lash out. And while none of that is really justified, and I would hope that they have people in their life that would put them on a better path, unfortunately, that type of environment cultivates that type of person. And before long, it becomes a cult, whether you want it to be or not. And when the person at the top of that cult isn't doing anything to discipline his followers, well, they're gonna start to act like this. But Zillakami took it a step further, because not only did he not try to stop them from doing this type of shit, he actually went on to provoke them even more. Now, I'm not here to relitigate the allegations. If you want to know my opinion on them, I have videos on Twisted Society from when they were going down. So if you have any desire to change your mind whatsoever, or maybe get a more balanced opinion, you can go give them a listen. I feel like I was pretty unbiased in them, but if you have critical thinking skills, you can discern all of that for yourself. But with all of that said, I will humor you for a minute. We can take one last look at that Zillakami live stream response, as many people like to look back at that as the reasoning that Zillakami is actually innocent on all charges. Now, of course, anybody with a functional adult brain would be able to completely see through all of the bullshit that Zillakami was peddling within this live stream. But what you need to realize is that the live stream wasn't for me and you. It was for the people who were already convinced that he was innocent. Because Zilla hit all the talking points. The women lied, they were trying to come after me, I'm taking them to court and fighting back. I got a lawyer to investigate me and make sure that I was clear of all charges, because after all, a lawyer's not going to take you on unless they think that you're innocent. And probably most importantly, all of the people who believe the allegations are fake fans. If you're on the other side, stay on the other side. All of the people who stuck down with me, no matter what type of evidence came out, you're the real fans. And at that moment, he fully cemented the cult, because after all, that was validation. These people have very low self-esteem. They really don't feel very good about themselves on the day-to-day, but at that moment, they felt proud because they were real fans. They didn't listen to any of the outside noise, and Zillakami was rewarding them for their loyalty. But here's the thing, if you start to think about it at all, immediately his story breaks down. Because first of all, Zillakami wasn't accused by one evil woman who wanted to take him down. He has 6 different accusers. And not only that, but 2 of the accusers actually had their story come out against their will, with both Molly Santana and Sleazy Skiz not wanting to have any part of this, but basically being drug into it by another woman going by the name of Decky. So right off the bat, if you believe that this entire thing was a conspiracy done against Zillakami to ruin his career, that means you believe that 6 independent women from all over the country came together in a group chat to make up 6 different independent stories that don't have anything to do with each other, and not only that, but made a plan for one of them to out the other ones so they could pretend like they didn't want to have any part in it. I mean, come on dude, think about it. Most women can't decide what they want to have for dinner every night. If you truly believe that all 6 of these women were able to come together in a group chat and orchestrate this entire conspiracy against them with that amount of foresight and intelligence, well, I guess you can believe that, but honestly, given the choice between Zillakami just being guilty and that, I would probably lean more to him being guilty, but hey, whatever. Second of all, no, you absolutely don't have to be innocent to get a lawyer. That's kind of the point of a lawyer in the first place, to try to argue your case and prove that you're innocent. I mean, OJ Simpson had a lawyer, P. Diddy has a lawyer, Elaine Maxwell has several different lawyers. School who are caught on camera committing the act get a lawyer. I mean, you get a lawyer if you're gonna go to court. That's the way that the entire system works. But anyways, enough arguing over that. If you truly believe that he's innocent, there's absolutely nothing that I could say that would ever change your mind. I mean, I could show you an actual video of Zillakami in the act and you would probably still find a way to deny it, saying it's deepfake or AI or something like that. And in my opinion, that's really the mentality that you should have when it comes to dealing with these people. Don't try to convince them or change their mind, because nothing you're going to say is really going to be able to sway them. I understand that it can be frustrating that there's still so many people that support Zillakami, but in the grand scheme of things, he basically lost his entire audience. I mean, he went from having millions and millions of fans, and now he probably has a little bit over 30,000, I would say, which I know seems like a lot, but when you really break it down, it's basically only people who have invested interest in Zillakami being innocent, people who are trying to be contrarians, or very young people who don't have a very good grasp on life, who will eventually grow up, start to have real life experiences, and once they do, they will move on from Zillakami. And that's really the death blow for any artist's career, because no matter how dedicated your cult fan base is, if you're not able to bring any new people in, then eventually your fan base is going to wither and die. And honestly, it's probably better that these people continue to be terrible, because all it's going to do is dissuade more people from becoming part of that fan base. So for the people who ask me if it pisses me off that Zillakami still has fans, I would say no, I don't really care. I mean, after all, once you find some form of fame online, there's always going to be people who support you no matter what. And in the long run, I truly do believe that Zillakami is going to end up exactly like Tekashi 69. I mean, when he came home in 2020, there was a lot of people supporting him, me included, who didn't want to believe any of the bad stuff that he did. And while at the time it felt very righteous to defend him and fight back against the industry that was screwing him over for no good reason, after enough time goes by, you start to realize that you're not going to win that fight and that the party ended long ago and you just haven't left yet. So overall, those people are pretty inconsequential, but what is a little bit more disturbing is the people who continue to support him. And no, I'm not talking about fans, I'm talking about actual artists. For example, BurnKas. Now I would say the vast majority of people who are watching this video right now probably don't know who BurnKas is, as after all, he's been locked up in prison for the better part of half a decade, so he's lost a lot of support over that time. But long story short, he was a trap metal artist that was pretty big back in 2017, being part of a group called 999 Mob alongside his best friend Drown Millie. Together alongside artists like Cutthroat Crew, 83 Hades, and Kill TJ, they would find a little bit of fame online by getting a couple different music videos on the Elevator channel. On top of that, they had a couple connections to Tekashi 69, with them knowing him during the time time that he was a cameraman right before he became a blood. And because of that, they were able to build a little bit of clout off of talking about that period of time. But I would say the absolute biggest moment for BurnKas' career is when he happened to get a feature from Zillakami on the track Red Rum. Now keep in mind this was back in 2017, right before Zillakami started to get really big. However, to be honest, that only really made it better for BurnKas, because once people started to become fans of the Morgue, they would start to seek out their older music as well, which would lead Red Rum to get millions and millions of plays. And because of that, a lot of people associate BurnKas with Zillakami, although this was a bought feature, and while they were in the studio together when they were making it, they never really had that close of a connection. It's pretty comparable to people like Zarkon, where a lot of people heavily associate him with Zillakami, but once again, they weren't friends. It just so happened that they bought a feature at the perfect time to really kick off their career. Although unfortunately, BurnKas' time in the sun was pretty short-lived, as in 2019, he ended up getting into a bit of trouble. And this all came down to his affiliation with the rapper Squid Nice, who at this point is pretty well irrelevant, but back in 2017 to 2018, he actually was a pretty big deal. Him and 6ix9ine blew up right around the same time during October 2017, with both of them being from New York and being gang members. However, while 6ix9ine would continue to thrive and drop hit after hit after hit, Squid Nice would basically only have that one track that went massive called By My Lonely, and then after that, he mostly spent his time hating on 6ix9ine. And this would lead to a back and forth where he was embarrassed time and time again, with him getting beat up multiple times on camera and even getting into a fight with Skinny from the Nine. But despite that, he still had some form of clout, and it seems like BurnKas saw potential in the two of them working together, so he would immediately get connected to him through the Crips, and after that, they were pretty well seen everywhere together. However, unfortunately, this would all come to an abrupt end when the two of them would get on live stream together and start flashing different guns, which of course is highly illegal in New York. So of course, the cops would be called to the scene, and then BurnKas would grab the guns and try to run away with them, leading the two of them to both be arrested. Now BurnKas would make the claim that Squid Nice was actually the one who had the guns, and not only that, but he would go on to snitch on him to get himself out of trouble, which is kind of believable because Squid Nice didn't really get into any trouble at all, and BurnKas ended up going to prison for the better part of 6 years. And of course, mostly being a micro celebrity that really only had fame in the underground scene from 2017 to 2019, getting locked up for that period of time would definitely not be good for your career. However, despite that, surprisingly, people never really forgot about BurnKas, and during the entire time that he was locked up, people would wait for his return with bated breath. And when he was finally released in 2025, he honestly played his comeback pretty well, because he wouldn't immediately tell people the day that he was home that he was free, instead waiting a couple weeks, filming some content, making connections, and preparing himself for a full-blown comeback. And when he did finally reveal to the world that he was free, he would do so with a cameo in a World Star Hip Hop video for his friend Drown Millie's track, Put in the Work. And while admittedly his fan base is pretty small, it seemed like there was a lot of potential in this comeback, and people were excited to see what he would do next. Because unlike a lot of these modern underground guys, BurnKas comes from the old underground, meaning that he knows what he has to do if he wants to get attention. And that means he's going to take any opportunity he can and connect to any artist who can help his momentum in any way, with him even appearing alongside Dave Blunt's in a photo shoot. Although the only reason that he was able to get in there was because he snuck in, but despite that, hey, still a cosign. And on top of that, I would say he was in a much better position in 2025 than he ever was in 2017 or 2018, because during that period of time, most people only knew him as the guy who hung out with Squid Nice or the dude who had a feature with Zillakami. But in the modern day, both of those artists were out of the picture, so all BurnKas had to do was ignore all questions that he was asked about the two of them, keep putting out music, keep building his base, and honestly, I think he would have got a good portion of the trap metal community behind him. But even early on, you could already tell that he probably wasn't going to take that path, with people asking him what he thought about Zillakami, and him basically saying, I don't speak about other men, I don't care about that, which is respectable, I guess, but a little bit weird. However, it wouldn't be long after that he would reveal that he actually had an old feature from Zillakami from back in the day that he had plans to put out in 2025, which I really felt like was a bad idea, because while yes, I know the song definitely would get attention and plays right off the bat from Zillakami's fan base, in the long run, it probably wasn't the best play. I mean, if you're treating your career like it's basically already over and all you want to do is squeeze it for the last little bits of juice that you can get out of it, well, go ahead and do the feature. But if you want to have any sort of future in music, I probably wouldn't make a song with somebody who's basically widely known as a I mean, it's definitely shocking, but not really in a good way. It's kind of like Kanye West continuing to defend Diddy, or going to a mall and then shitting your pants in the middle of the floor and then saying, "Look at me." I mean, people are gonna look, but it's not really a good look. But I guess I was mostly alone on that because most people in the comment section were completely supportive of BurnKas dropping with Zillakami, and apparently Zilla would notice all of that goodwill, immediately reaching out to BurnKas and asking him if he wanted to do a new song and even a music video together, shot in New York City. Because after all, if there's one allegation that's truly destroying Zillakami's career, it's really the allegation that he now lives in Europe. He cannot stand that. He needs everybody to know, "I'm in New York." And the two of them would go on to advertise the song about a week ago. There was a bunch of visuals with Nazis marching around, basically playing into the whole edgy, "I'm back, you can't stop me, I'm a supervillain" type of persona that apparently Zilla is rocking with now. And right off the bat, I couldn't believe that BurnKas would actually go through with this, but after thinking about it for a little bit, it's honestly not all that surprising. I mean, his career is basically dead after all of that time in prison. This is going to be a fast way to get attention, and well, that's basically all he wants right now. It's kind of unfortunate because the whole reason that he ended up getting locked up in the first place is because he was being opportunistic and basically trying to work with people who he knew weren't good for him but would be able to get him clout. And apparently after 6 years of being locked up, he really didn't learn anything, but I guess once a clout chaser, always a clout chaser. But once again, it's really not all that surprising. I mean, the dude lost a bunch of his life being locked up in prison, so the second that he gets home, he probably wants to go right back to being famous, so it doesn't feel like all of that wasted time was for nothing. And then if you look at things from Zillakami's perspective, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, BurnKas has a lot of goodwill within the community right now, and Zilla has constantly been criticized for never really working with smaller artists, so well, now he is. Which is a little bit dirty considering the fact that when he was up, he didn't even want to talk to these guys, but now that he's in trouble, he wants to work with them to earn a little bit of goodwill. But overall, you really can't feel too bad for them as they're basically using each other. Zillakami is using Kaz for goodwill, Kaz is using Zilla for clout, so yeah, whatever. Parasocial relationship or symbiotic, I don't know what you want to call it, but either way, that's what they did. The track would go on to drop on July 30th. It got about 28K in a day, which I guess isn't bad, although I probably wouldn't sell my soul for 28,000 views. And I'd be willing to bet that you probably didn't even know the track came out until this video, but well, there it is. But while I don't find it surprising that BurnKas would continue to support Zillakami, I do find it a little bit more surprising that Denzel Curry is actually continuing to support him. He not only still follows him even to this day, but he's actually actively liking a lot of his pictures, which I know doesn't seem like a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but honestly, Denzel has absolutely no reason to support Zilla whatsoever. He's completely washed up. Denzel is a massive artist who doesn't need that cosign, so he's basically only doing it because I guess they're friends. And while to some of you that might seem noble, honestly, I think that's kind of the issue with the underground. Nobody's ever willing to cut off their friends even after they do terrible things. It's that whole mentality of bros over hoes and the whole boys club, and honestly, you can't even be mad at just Denzel Curry for doing this because even some of my favorite artists have done something similar. I mean, the Suicide Boys still fuck around with Puya, Bone still supports Xavier Wolf, and Gothboy Click never ended up kicking out Little Tracy, going to show that even some of the most wholesome people in the underground still fall victim to this mentality, which I find incredibly ironic considering that a lot of them will complain about the mainstream industry and how much they're allowed to get away with and the Epstein list, but really this entire mentality of protecting your friends no matter what is pretty well exactly how you get an Epstein situation. Now, that might be a crazy take. I know a lot of people think that I'm probably taking it to the extreme, but I mean, think about it. That's probably the mentality that a lot of people around him had. I gotta protect my bro, and that's how people in the underground feel as well. Just because you don't like the rich white man and you do like the cool underground rapper doesn't make the mentality any different. But with all of that said, I finally come to my final point, which isn't really a question that I've been asked one-on-one, but is something that I've seen floating around the underground for the past couple months. Does trap metal deserve to have its entire reputation destroyed over Zillakami? Zillakami? And my answer to that is, well, no. I mean, after all, one artist doesn't represent an entire genre. Just because Zillakami is an alleged creep doesn't mean that everybody in the underground is a creep. And of course, if the genre is willing to show solidarity for the victims by completely denouncing Zillakami before then moving on from him completely, the genre is going to continue to thrive, and eventually we'll get new artists. But that shit is not happening at all, guys. People are continuing to support him, and not even fans. A bunch of artists who at the time when all the allegations were coming out were completely against him are now right back to supporting him again. Not only that, but you got full-on artists who were going on their own tour of Rocking City Morgue merch. I mean, what the fuck? I've had people who I've talked to one-on-one on the phone when all of this was going down basically completely switch their tune now that Zillakami is back. I mean, all of these dudes are opportunistic as fuck. As soon as they see BurnKas getting a feature from Zillakami, of course they're gonna switch sides because they want that feature as well. And honestly, I'm not surprised whatsoever because the night that Zillakami ended up doing that live stream, a bunch of people that I worked with and respect it ended up coming out with support for him. So of course I hit them up and was like, wait on this dude. I mean, there's gonna be more that comes out. Maybe you don't want to give your opinion yet. And they basically told me, you know what, right now everybody's on Zilla's side, so I'm gonna support that. If you end up putting out a video and changing the narrative, then I'll switch back over. And that's all there is to these guys. They want to look good publicly. They want to be on the winning side. They have no conviction. They have no morals. And I've even had multiple artists who I really respect tell me things along the lines of, I don't give a shit if that girl got beat up. It has nothing to do with me. Or even better than that, all of your favorite artists are probably because back in the day, nobody checked IDs and everybody definitely ended up underage girls. Yeah, a direct quote. Somebody told me that. And it wasn't like, man, the underground is so fucked up. It was like, well, everybody's done it, so it doesn't really matter. And you may or may not believe me. You might think I'm lying about that, but I swear on my life that really did happen. And maybe I'm naive for thinking this, but I really hate the mentality of everybody in the underground is a bad person, so why would you ever expect them to be good? I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think there's plenty of good people out there, but the overall culture of the underground is pretty shit. And that's not me pretending that I'm better than anybody or trying to disparage an entire genre of music. Of course, I absolutely love this type of music. That's why I spend all day researching into it. However, if you're only going to come here to hear the pre-approved talking points about the underground, then I apologize. I'm never going to do that. Not because I'm trying to be edgy or stand out, but simply because I'm not trying to be friends with terrible people. And if you don't like that, I apologize. I'm sorry for that. But I will tell you that there is a very important person who does care about all of this. There is an important person out there who cares about me. And no, I'm not talking about my mom. I'm talking about Zillakami, baby. Because the audio creep creeped his way into my DMs saying, appreciate the unbiased coverage. I watched to know what's going on. LOL. Also, I am a multi-millionaire and I live in New York for reference. So there you have it. The man lives in New York. We all had to know. But yeah, now for real, I think he's trying to rage bait me into making another video on him. And well, here it is. I made the video. Are you happy? And honestly, in my opinion, I think Zillakami should keep doing what he's doing. I mean, it really helps us out by showing us who has absolutely no morals whatsoever and is willing to work with the pedophile if it means they can get a little bit of clout. Please continue to put a bigger spotlight on these weirdos. Honestly, I think you should do 83 Hades next. He's probably going to do one with Zarkon. You should get Tone Just Died in there. I mean, keep doing them. Keep doing these features. I think you're doing a service for the entire underground, honestly. And once again, not surprised by this because during the time that the actual allegations were going down, Zillakami actually got somebody to reach out to me and offer features to King and Leprosy. He was like, hey man, can we all be buddy-buddy as long as I give you some free music? And we turned it down, but I guess we shouldn't have because apparently in the underground this is totally acceptable. But yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I guess I had a lot to say. Honestly, I'm kind of interested to see what the comments will look like on this one. If you stuck around to the end, leave a burger emoji because I'm trying to see how many people are actually willing to sit through something that they don't personally agree with. With that said, thank you guys so much once again for 30,000 subscribers. I can't believe we hit that. You guys are the realest fan base in the underground. You stuck with me through thick and thin. And if anybody ever says anything bad about me, they're on the other side. Remember that. Thank you guys. Peace out. Knife cult. We're done. Bye-bye.